All right. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Southern California PGA Catalyst Series brought to you by PXG. Get ready to transform your game with PXG. You'll experience exceptional quality and innovative technology that produce real and measurable improvements on the golf course. Thank you for joining the webinar series presented by the Education Committee with the SCPGA. My name is Blake Jurgis. I'm the SCPGA Education Chair and Board Member. I'm excited to bring on Tim Brand, Vice President of Business Development with Foresight Sports. And I apologize for the technical difficulty this morning, but we are so excited to bring on Tim and to get this party started with Tim. And Tim, I want to hear more about you and share more about where you're doing with Foresight. And I love this stuff, and I'm just so excited to hear what you have to say today. So let's get going. Tim, take it away.
Thank you so much. First and foremost, thank you to the section for providing such a great opportunity. This is the fourth year of our partnership with the Southern Cal PGA section, and we couldn't be more proud of working with all the members and associates within the section. And thank you to all of you for taking some time out from your busy days to spend time on the webinar this morning, learn a little bit more about Foresight Sports and what we're doing through the game to help drive it forward. A little bit about myself to get started. I've been with the company for about 5 years. My role is Vice President of Business Development. We'll get into some company background and history in just a moment, but it's a very exciting time to be involved with golf technology. I think as many people have seen, the growth of simulator golf has really exploded since COVID, and it appears like that is a very sticky application to help grow the game. Just a couple of years ago, there were more exclusively off-course golfers than exclusively on-course golfers. So, in the launch monitor and simulator world, things are thriving, and we certainly hope that all of you that utilize our products, thank you so much for your support and trust. And for those that are thinking about buying a launch monitor or a simulator, we certainly hope that you'll consider us. And we'll get into some of the merits of using our technology a little bit later in the presentation. So, to get started, a little bit about our background in the company. We are one of a number of companies in the Revlist portfolio. Revlist is a company of 31 different iconic category leading brands. A number of those brands are listed up on the page that you see right now. We are within a division of Revlist called the Golf Technologies Division. And a little bit more about the Golf Technologies Division. Right now, that consists of 4 different companies. You're probably very familiar with at least one of them, being Bushnell Golf, Golf Logics, which is an on-course GPS and stat tracking app. And then for those of you that are familiar in the simulator space, PinSeeker is a gamification software platform that allows for folks to compete on simulators in post-to-the-pin format events. And then, of course, Foresight Sports. When you look at each of these brands, they have a kind of distinct, unique profile. Foresight Sports specializes in launch monitors and simulators. Bushnell Golf specializes in distance measuring devices such as laser rangefinders and GPS. PinSeeker, obviously, as mentioned previously, is a gamification platform for simulator golf. Golf Logics is a suite of software applications to be used for stat tracking and GPS services out on the course. What we're trying to do across Revlist Golf Technologies is bridge all of these companies together. So when we look at off course and on course, we feel strongly that we've got a unique opportunity to bring all of those experiences together in a meaningful way. So if we look at the Golf Technologies portfolio, our overarching mission is to build the most trusted and interconnected technology ecosystem powered by category defining brands through their innovative and disruptive products. So when we look at simulators and launch monitors, a lot of the information that is provided by those technologies is very insightful and very useful. But how do we deliver that information to the golfer on the golf course where they need the information most? That's kind of the summary of what the overarching mission of the companies are. So we're very excited. Right now, our parent company is making investments into the Golf Technologies Division. So while we've been very active on the corporate development front over the last 2 years with the acquisition of PinSeeker and Golf Logics, we're not done. And we fully anticipate to make some more strategic moves over the next couple of years to add more companies to the portfolio. little bit more specifically about Foresight Sports. We are Southern California based. That building that you see there on the screen is in San Diego. It's by the Miramar Marine Air Station. And we have about 300 people running around the building these days. Something that most folks are not familiar with about our Foresight brand, that all of our machines are manufactured, engineered, and assembled right there in that building in San Diego, something that we're very proud of. Why does that matter? Well, if you were to pull apart our machines and look at the industrial design and the components that are utilized in those machines, you would find that we're using superior components that tend to withstand the elements and have longevity in the field. If you look at some of our initial units that we produced back in 2009, called GC2, a number of those devices are still working to this day, 10 plus years later. And that's a testimony to the engineering and the workmanship that goes into building these products at our headquarters. When we look at the IP portfolio throughout the brand, one of the strongest in the industry. A lot of folks may not be familiar with the fact that prior to Foresight Sports, that little machine you see on the left, which is our GC2 device, is actually manufactured and sold as a Nike golf device. It was called the Nike T100. So that goes all the way back to the early 2000s. So why does that matter? Obviously, the technology space is becoming more and more crowded. You see more and more companies entering the marketplace. With any new entrant into a category, there comes a lack of previous understanding. And basically, over the years, you learn a lot about how to engineer and develop new products. And we see a lot of the new entrants into the marketplace that are making some of the mistakes that we made almost 20 years ago. And so that industrial know-how, that engineering background, I think really counts for something when you're looking at developing quality products that last. Another thing that's worth considering is the size of our installed database. Over 60,000 devices have been sold throughout the history of the company. Over 500 million shots are captured in our database at this point. So we have a very strong background in history in the industry of helping golfers and golf professionals identify and characterize what's going on with the club and what's going on with the ball through our launch monitors, and then obviously connecting our launch monitors in the simulator setting, drive entertainment and experiences and sims. Something that we're very proud of throughout the organization is our utilization throughout R&D applications. When you look at the research and development programs at most of all of the major manufacturers, as well as the governing bodies of the game, we're very, very proud of the fact that our devices are utilized throughout all of those applications to actually innovate and drive the industry forward from an equipment perspective. So as we look at the USGA's Testing and Research Center and the RNA's Testing and Research Center, you'll find a good number of our GC Quad devices and utilization there to help characterize golf performance of golf clubs and help them with their conformity testing. And the same can be said when you look at the R&D departments at the various manufacturers. It's something that I think speaks to the precision and the accuracy and the reliability of our products. And when you have the opportunity to spend time in any of these facilities, you'll notice that that the number of different technologies that are being utilized there is very limited, and you don't see some of the newer entrants to the marketplace being utilized to measure equipment, and that's due to the lack of accuracy, precision, and reliability from some of those competitor devices. Obviously, I think for most folks that have spent time out on the various tours, whether it's attending as a player or attending as a fan, if you go to the driving range each week, you'll see a number of our devices, anywhere 60 to 100 devices in use each week across all of the worldwide tours. Something to call out there. We've heard from a number of folks that we're seeding product with the players. That is not accurate. All of the players pay for the devices. They actually pay preferred pricing that is very similar to what PGA professionals pay. So all of that is authentic usage. We don't pay any athletes to play and use our technology. Again, I think that speaks to the accuracy and the precision and the reliability of the data that we drive.
Hey Tim,
Throughout
I have a question for you on that one. On
the
like when it comes into the obviously the units like those right there, and you're talking about like the pros are paying the same price as the PG professionals. What is that? Can we share the cost with the people on the group call here?
Absolutely. We have various tiered pricing. Standard PGA professional discount is approximately 10%. And then we do have an advisor board and a staff advisor board as well. So if you're interested in joining the team as an advisor, that's something that we can have a discussion about. Feel free to get in touch with me. But we do offer standard industry discounts. And then obviously, if we're looking at purchasing technology in bulk or at scale where you're purchasing a number of units, then there's also preferred pricing that can be offered there depending upon the volume. So we're
Perfect. Yeah, no,
looking to take care
this
of
stuff is
our.
obviously
Go ahead.
this stuff is really common, obviously, with a lot of our instructors here in the section. So, I mean, obviously, if anybody on this call is looking into the purchasing one or in the looking for the advisory board, I think that's is a good like obviously good piece of information right there, and just and then obviously you want to know more of this stuff, but just wanted to throw it out there to the group, and if anybody is looking into looking into this stuff, like obviously Tim will kind of share his information at the end of the presentation here. Sorry, go ahead, Tim.
All good. Thank you. When you look at intercollegiate golf, the NCAA championships that are now hosted at La Costa, if any of you have had time to spend time at that event, you would have noticed a good number of our devices throughout the range. Over almost 90% of the men's and women's team both that were playing in the finals this year were Foresight schools. The current reigning U.S. amateur champion is part of our junior golf development program called Up Next, which I'll mention in slides. And then when we look at the NCAA, the number one women's amateur in the world, number one men's amateur in the world, and current reigning NCAA men's champion are all ambassadors with our brand. So something that we're very proud of. That when we look at collegiate development space, this is an area where a lot of the players have found value in working with our products to help them develop their games. And continue to support the development of junior golfers and intercollegiate golfers as they progress through the ranks and hopefully enter their professional careers. I mentioned just a moment ago, Up Next. This slide actually needs some updating. Up Next is our junior golf development program. We have over 3,500 kids now in the program, and it's growing quickly. It offers deferred pricing out to junior golf families, special activation opportunities. A couple of years ago, we brought some of the kids from the Up Next program to Pebble. They played in the Navy SEALs Foundation event. It was a fantastic experience for all involved. We do support numerous junior golf tour partnerships, Hurricane Junior Tour, Under Armour Tour, to name a couple. And then from time to time, we host educational webinars and events where we connect some of the industry's thought leaders and professional golfers directly with the junior golfers. Nick Dunlap, Michael Thorborn, and Gordon Sargent have participated in the webinars in the past, as well as Coach Chris Zambry, who is the leader of the U.S. National Development Program, and other thought leaders in the junior golf space. So something that we're very proud. You are somebody that specializes in junior golf. Please keep us in mind if any of your players are looking for technology to help develop their games. We do have another partnership that we're very proud of with Folds of Honor. So for all of us that come from military families or have served, we do offer a co-branded Quad Max machine that has the Volition Folds of Honor marks on them. Those machines are sold with a benefit being given back to the Folds of Honor program. We also have the Folds of Honor courses, the Patriot and American Dunes. The Patriot is a private club in Oklahoma, and American Dunes is an amazing public facility up in Michigan. And the proceeds from the revenues generated from the sale of those software features in our software all benefit the Folds of Honor Foundation. So I'm very proud to take care of our military community. And for Southern California, with there being such a large active duty number of troops in the region, this really matters to us. I mentioned earlier the NCAA collegiate program. Um, we do have special programming and pricing to target all of the NCAA and NAIA and NJCAA programs. If you are with a program and thinking about technology, whether it be simulators or launch monitors, please keep us in mind. The big college coaches show is coming up here the first week in December. So if any of you are on the call that represent college golf, we look forward to seeing you there. And then lastly, as mentioned just a moment ago, we do have a green grass program designed to get preferred pricing out to PGA professionals and LPGA professionals and those in the Club Management Association. Something to call out here, if you are at a club that would like your course replicated in our software, that's something that is very important to us, that we have a large list of different courses that are available to our users. And there's a course licensing program for some of the more esteemed and more popular golf courses. There's actually some revenue opportunities through the licensing program to consider. So if you are a club operator and you're at a club that is fairly well known, we would love to have a discussion with you about getting your golf course into our software. There's probably some revenue upside that we can explore together. Just a quick note on our products, quick run through. When you look at the brand, that's one of our differentiators. If you're looking at some of our competitors, they will either specialize in the premium space or they will specialize in the entry level space, but there's no brand currently outside of Foresight Sports that is offering a product vertical of different products that meets every price point. So when you look at our newest devices, last year we introduced Quad Max, which is our flagship ground-based device. This is what most of the PGA and LPGA tour players are using these days. And that retails for just under $20,000 US. And then when you look at the overhead device, this is something that's used for sim play. The benefit of an overhead device is you don't have to switch the machine when you're going back and forth between righty and lefty and reposition it. But the Falcon device was launched last year. That is a golf only device. We do offer another overhead device which features soccer as well. But those are our two newest additions to the hardware family. And then when you look at some of our legacy products, you're looking at GC Quad, which is the silverback machine that a lot of us have seen throughout the years. GC3, which is our personal launch monitor device. And then GC Hawk, which I mentioned earlier, is an overhead device that not only does golf, but it also does soccer capture as well. So we have a very robust offering of hardware. Again, all of that hardware is manufactured and assembled in San Diego, right at our headquarters. And this offers a consumer a lot of different options from a price point perspective. And then for those that are probably curious, I mentioned that Bushnell Golf is part of the portfolio of companies within the Golf Technologies division. We do offer a personal launch monitor device that is very similar in nature to GC3, called the Bushnell Launch Pro. Some of you are probably familiar with that. And the difference between the Launch Pro unit and the GC3 being how the software is delivered to the customer. With the GC3, it's a one-time perpetual software license. With the Bushnell version, it is a subscription-based product. So there are a lot of different price points, a lot of different capabilities based upon what fits you best and what you need to run your operation and what benefits your customers. We do offer two different software platforms. FSX Play is designed to be more of our gamification, league, competition, simulator golf platform. That's where you'll find all the virtual golf courses, as well as some different games. And then FSX Pro is more for teaching and club fitting. It has a virtual driving range application that gives you some enhanced analytics and data that you wouldn't get in the FSX Play platform. But those two software franchises were launched a few years back now. We're very excited about some of the things that are happening on the software side of the business. I mentioned that we acquired PinSeeker a couple of years ago. With that PinSeeker acquisition came a very, very talented group of software developers. And you'll start seeing some of our efforts on software you'll start to see that at the PGA show and into 2026 as we start to reveal our next generation software that the new software team has been developing over the last year and a half. When we look at simulators, there are kind of two different simulator categories that we offer. We offer a kitted or bundled solution called Sim in a Box. Those Sim in a Box simulators range anywhere from $9,000 up to $35,000. Everything that you need for the simulator, from turf and screen and projector, is all included in the bundle. And obviously, when you're looking at having a full simulation kit available for less than $10,000, including the launch monitor, we think that that's a very attractive option for folks that are on a budget. And then when you're looking at creating something that's custom or bespoke, that's working with our design team and the architects and general contractors at your various facilities, space and facilities folks. We do offer custom simulators. Price points on a custom simulator are going to range depending upon how it's pointed, but typical project costs are between $40,000 and $60,000, and the typical timelines are going to be between 2 to 4 months. So there's a lot of different options and offerings from a hardware perspective, from a software perspective, and from a simulator perspective. So I guess the big question would be, well, I think a lot of folks are familiar with some of the competitors in the marketplace over the last 20 years. And why do we see so many research applications? Why do we see so many tour pros? Why do we see so many college players and teachers moving away from radar-based technology to camera-based technology? And there are a few big differentiators that I think are worth considering that explains this. These are the 5 main ones that are up on the screen now. Versatility. And what is meant by versatility is not only is it versatile where you can capture swinging clubs, short game, and putting with the same machine, but the way that we capture information and the way that we process information does not change whether we're indoors or we're outdoors. If you're using a radar-based simulator or launch monitor, the way that it's capturing and processing information is different when you're inside versus when you're outside. What that means is that the data sets can look slightly differently inside versus outside. With our technology, because of the consistency and versatility of the units in the way that they capture the information, regardless of what environment they're in, means that you're getting the same data set no matter where you are. The next are accuracy and precision. Accuracy is the ability to get to the right answer. Precision is the ability to get to the answer in very, very small increments of measure. Those are 2 very important things when you're looking at the research world. Obviously, getting to the right answer, but being able to be very precise in the measurement is incredibly important. When you look at the accuracy and precision of camera-based technology, I think everybody in the industry understands the benefits of taking a direct measurement of the launch of the ball and taking a direct measurement of the club face through the impact zone. The next would be reliability. Reliability is the ability to capture the majority of the shots hit. I think all of us that have worked in the industry as a teacher or fitter have had an experience where they're working with technology and the player or the student hits a shot that's absolutely perfect, and then the machine doesn't capture the shot. That can be very frustrating. When you look at the capture rates of our technology, they're some of the highest in the industry. If you were to hit 100 shots, over 98 of them should capture without any issues. So it's a very high capture rate. And then lastly is durability. A few years back, the team over at TaylorMade did some marketing exercises with their tour team. They dressed all the guys in a Boston Bruins jersey and had them mimic Happy Gilmore. And in that content piece, unfortunately, Rory didn't hit a very good shot when he did his Happy Gilmore impression. He actually toe shanked one directly into the unit. So for folks that are asking about durability, some folks are concerned where we locate the unit, because the unit for the ground-based machines is slightly forward of the impact zone. Those machines are designed to take impact from a shot. And in the case of this example with Rory, it was able to withstand a toe shank off of a driver hit from Rory McIlroy and continued working perfectly capably. So Again, that's a testimony to the components that are being used in the industrial design of the machines, that they're very sturdy and very rugged. Um, Drilling into the concept of photometric versus Doppler, on the left-hand side of the screen, we can see an image of a capture sequence, and on the right-hand side of the screen, we can see what is basically raw data from a radar signature. And what you'll notice in the radar signature example is that the ball trace, which is on the top part of the screen, that's the upper right-hand corner, you can see that it's very, very sharp, and it's very easy to see what the boundaries of that radar signature look like. When you're looking at the club portion of the radar signature, you'll notice that it's somewhat clear before we get to a certain moment. And then right about the moment where the ball shows up on the radar signature, you'll notice that things get a little distorted. That's because collision between a club and a ball is a very violent, violent moment. And a lot of things are happening, especially in an off-center strike. In an off-center strike, because of gear effect, you're getting a lot of deflection of the face of the club. And a lot of that deflection in that moment makes things very difficult for a Doppler system to be able to see that very clearly. What we'll see here in just a moment is a typical capture sequence. And you can very clearly see with a photometric system that we are taking a direct measurement of the spin axis of the ball. We're also taking a direct measurement of what the club face is doing through the impact zone. So these are very, very important differentiations. Doppler technology is really good at measuring the golf ball as it's flying downrange. However, it's important to understand where they have a lot of strength in measuring the golf ball flying downrange. They're sacrificing some capabilities to be able to measure things the way that they should be measured at impact, specifically with club delivery and ball launch. So if measuring the club through the impact zone and measuring the initial launch of the ball is incredibly important, which from my background in fitting and teaching, that's really the most important, is understanding what's happening during that club and ball collision. That's such an important part of teaching and understanding what's happening. If that's important to you, then a photometric based machine is probably going to give you more resolute, more precise data about what's happening at impact. Again, that is the same capture sequence that's been enlarged. You can see the logo of the ball spinning around an axis point. You can notice that the ball is shrinking in size as it goes from one frame to the next. So by looking at the diameter of the image of the ball and tracking the dimples as they're rotating around the object, we get a very, very good sense of speed, launch angle, spin magnitude, and spin axis. And those are the four inputs that are most important to figure out where the ball went downrange. And then next that I'll show you here, actually that's spin tilt axis right there. So one call out on that is, especially in the simulator world, if you want authentic curvature in a sim, so if you want your draws to be draws and your fades to be fades in a simulator world, because a photometric system is taking a direct measurement of the tilt axis of the ball, it's really the only technology that can give you 100% guarantee that the curvature is always going to be right in the simulator. If you're using a calculated or algorithmic approach to figuring out tilt axis, because you don't have ball flight to be able to see the curvature of the shot, you're having to use very complicated algorithms that look at face to path and gear effect. And sometimes those algorithms struggle to understand the gear effect component. What that means is that you get a calculated spin axis measurement when you're inside. Sometimes that spin axis measurement is not exactly what the club created. So if you're working on a Doppler sim, you'll occasionally hit a shot that feels a lot like a fade. When you look up, it looks like a draw. And that is because it is a calculated spin axis measurement, not a directly measured spin axis measurement. This right here shows you what a capture sequence going through the impact zone on the club looks like. Again, we're taking a direct measurement of the club face as it's moving through the impact zone. One of the major manufacturers actually put together this animation with an integration of the stickers that we use to track the club directly on the face. And that is one of the things that I think is really important to call out is that we're actually tracking the club through the impact zone. And we're looking at all of the aspects of club delivery, meaning lie angle, loft, face angle, and impact location. And we're taking a direct measurement of that face plane. We're not using the start direction of the shot and club head speed to calculate the face angle based upon an algorithm. A very important call out if you're a club fitter. Taking a direct measurement of the club face as opposed to a calculated club face is incredibly important. One of the next things that I think is important to understand is the utilization of a barometer in our devices. This is something that actually is really important in Southern California, especially in the coastal areas, because we get the marine layer in the morning. And when we look at the marine layer, that creates a barometric condition that's very different than the afternoon. A few years back at the US Open, when it was at Torrey, we had a situation with a tour professional who was feeling like the machine was not working accurately. They were seeing very big differences between their data in the morning versus the afternoon. And they thought that it was an issue with the sun or some kind of crazy thing that was going on with the machine. What we were able to figure out through some analysis is the difference in distance that we were seeing with that player's 6-iron, which was about 8 yards from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. That difference in distance was actually due to barometric pressure and air density. So not only does the barometric pressure change with temperature and altitude changes, so I live in Phoenix, we're at 1,000 feet of elevation. It's obviously incredibly hot in the summer. The ball is going to fly very differently here than it will fly somewhere else in the country during the summertime, especially coastal Southern California. So not only are we going to see a difference in the way the ball flies based upon location change, you can stay at the same location and we're going to notice a difference in the way the ball flies from morning to afternoon based upon environmental conditions. And that's something that our technology will be able to characterize directly because of the sensors that are in the unit being able to measure temperature, elevation, and barometric pressure. So if you want all of your data relative to where the player is hitting shots that day at that moment of time, you need a barometer that can measure air density and factor that into the flight equations. Quick note here on some comparative testing that we've done. We have a great relationship with Gene Parenti. Gene Parenti, for those that are not familiar with Gene, has a company called Golf Laboratories. Golf Laboratories is the preeminent third-party researcher and tester of both golf equipment and just general research. Golf Laboratories is better known for their Iron Byron or swing robot, and we do have an exclusive relationship with Gene to do a multitude of different tests. This test was done outside to measure the accuracy of our ball flight equation compared to a Doppler machine. Again, the benefit of Doppler technology is that it's tracking the ball as it's moving through the air until it hits the ground. When you look at photometric technology, we're capturing the initial launch of the ball, but we're not directly tracking the ball downrange. We're using a flight equation to extrapolate where the ball would have gone downrange. And for those that are curious about the accuracy of our flight equation, what we notice is that our flight equation as compared to a leading radar unit non-normalized is within the same tolerance of about 1.5%. And when we look at one of those leading radar units and how they are normalizing, so whenever you normalize a radar unit, you're no longer tracking the ball through the air, you're tracking a segment or the first part of the ball. And then from there, it's saying, okay, based upon this initial ball flight, what did the rest of the ball flight do before the environment had a chance to affect things? And that's an approach that we use to be able to calculate the rest of the ball flight through our flight equation. So it's a very similar approach that we're taking a segment of ball launch and then figuring out the rest of the ball flight based upon a flight equation. For those that are using radar-based machines in a normalized mode, you're doing the exact same thing. And when we look at a normalized radar data set, it actually shows a much broader tolerance for measurement or calculation in this case than the flight equation that we have through Foresight Sports. Next thing that I would like to call out is indoor testing, and this is where we start to see some big differences between technologies. I mentioned it earlier, the difference between calculated versus measured. And we saw some fairly big differences, specifically in ball outcomes. So if we're using a calculated spin axis number, and that spin axis number is not factoring in gear effect effectively, you could end up with, as I mentioned earlier, what should have been a fade actually showing as a draw or vice versa. And this here shows so a specific shot where there was over 36 yards of difference between the output that one machine dictated versus the machine that the other, or the data that the other machine output. And so when we're talking about a measured spin axis inside, that's an incredibly important thing if you want an authentic outcome of where the ball should have gone based upon the real world. We've done a lot of testing, as mentioned earlier, with various industry partners. These are some tests that we've done comparing our technologies to others. And the thing that I think is important to look at here is the consistency. So standard deviation, or in other words, throughout 10 shots, how consistent is the data? If all of this data is being conducted on robotic testing, then you would expect for the data sets to be very tight and very consistent. And what we start to see throughout some of the competition technology is that those standard deviations start to grow. So where we see a standard deviation of 0.2 miles per hour on head speed, when we look at a competitor's device, we'll see a standard deviation or consistency or tolerance of 1.8 miles an hour. When we look at a range of measurements, we might look at a half a mile an hour of speed difference on a robot using our devices. And when we look at a competitor's device, even though that we know that the club is swinging the exact same speed because it's on a robot, we see up to 7 miles an hour of difference as far as range with the measurements. So it's not only about being able to get to the right answer in a very small increment of measurement, it's also being able to do that consistently, shot in and shot out, and not missing shots and not having occasional outliers because the technology is not capable of measuring things consistently. Again, here, when we look at spin and we look at some of the differences in spin measurements with other competing technology, we can see some very different spin numbers as well. Then lastly, to get into it here on partnerships, something that we've done a lot of work to build up a very robust partnership list of other, whether it's complementary technology stacks or industry leading brands that we've partnered with. So when you look at the multitude of different third party software and other options that you have to enjoy as a Foresight customer, whether it's force and pressure, whether it's a putting component that's integrated into the sim, whether it's markerless motion capture, whether it's driving range technology, whether it's third-party simulation, booking and scheduling software, gamification software. We've been hard at work over the last few years to build out a robust partner portfolio that allows our users to leverage some of the other leading technologies in the game as well. With that, I'll stop. I'm sure there's a lot of information that's been shared that some folks may have some questions about. We really appreciate the opportunity to engage with everybody. So please, if you have any questions, would welcome them. And if you think of anything after today's seminar, we can get those questions over to the folks from the Southern Cal PGA section, and they'll be happy to connect me with each and every one of you to answer them if we need to. But at this point, I'll stop sharing my screen and we can open it up for questions.
Yeah, and if anybody has any questions, by the way, please feel free to go in the webinar chat and share with us. And I mean, Tim, great information, and obviously the research done with Foresight, with well, obviously with competitors, and also with the data, and kind of obviously the best players in the world are using this technology. What is it like you've seen it, like have you seen it be like a major difference between like the big players, like we talk about TrackMan, talk about Full Swing, or any of those things from a like a GC Quad to any of those other competitors? Like, have you seen guys just this? Is it pretty close to what you guys are noticing?
Well, I think it's important to call out that the fundamental the fundamental platform being Doppler based is going to innately have a different data set than what a photo based system will have. And the reason is because if you're using a Doppler based system, depending upon which system you're using, it's defining the moment of impact at a different point of time, and it's defining the club at a different point on the club. So, for instance, our technology defines impact as the moment of first touch, or in other words, the moment that the club and the ball touch one another. We say that that's the moment of impact. When you look at some competitor technologies, they will define the moment of impact as full compression or ball separation, meaning in the impact event, even though it happens over just a couple of milliseconds and over a millimeter or so, the amount of time and distance that the ball and the club are connected to one another makes things a little bit different from if you're measuring impact at the moment the ball actually flies off the face. There's been a little bit of time and there's been a little bit of distance that have elapsed since the moment of first touch. And that could cause a slight differential in the measurement. I mentioned earlier also the concept of a different point of the club. We are always measuring things based upon the face of the club. If you look at Doppler systems, some will measure the face, some will measure the center of volume of the mass of the club, some will measure the trailing edge of the club. And so it's important to understand that if we're measuring a different point on the club, so for instance, if I measure the heel of a club versus the toe of the club, the heel is going to be moving slower than the toe because we're moving the club around us in an arc. Kind of like, if you are twirling something above your head on a string, the longer the string, the faster the object is moving out away from you. So the toe of the club is moving a few miles an hour faster than the heel. If I'm measuring the heel of the club, that may have a certain mile per hour speed. And then if I look at the toe, that may also have a certain mile per hour speed. Which one's right? Well, technically both are right. We're just measuring a different point on the club. And so that's an important call out that if you're somebody that's been using Doppler based technology and you transition over to cameras or vice versa, there are going to be some innate differences in the data that you see because of the different moment in time and different place on the club that things are being measured. In general, you're going to see a club head speed that's a little bit faster with a camera-based technology. A radar-based technology is going to measure club head speed a little bit slower. And what that means is that smash factor or efficiency is going to be a little bit higher on a radar-based machine than on a photo-based machine. The top end smash factor will be a little bit lower. The other thing that you'll see is a difference in path and angle of attack. If you look at angle of attack, again, because the measurement is being taken at a different point in time, you'll see an angle of attack measurement on a radar machine that is slightly more down. And you'll see a path measurement on a radar machine that is slightly more into out. So I think that that's important to understand, that we're measuring a different point in time and a different point on the club, which might result in some different data that you see between the two. And there's a lot of research and information out there. So I would highly advise, scout around Google, Chat GPT, and it'll set you straight as far as what are those differences and why you see them.
Yeah, it's great. Love that. Thanks for the information. I have a couple questions, by the way, from a couple of the attendees here. And one of them comes with is, can this be adapted to a current simulator that is built already? For instance, they have TrackMan bays, and will they work with existing cameras and computers and lighting?
It should. A lot depends upon the operational specs of the computer. Nowadays, most simulation software that's offered by both us and all of our competitors requires a gaming type PC or a gaming laptop. As long as the operating specs of the computer are within the minimum specs of our software, then yes, if somebody has an existing simulator, it's usually very easy to retrofit that simulator with our technology. Really, all that's needed is the launch monitor product itself. So in the case of our quad or GC3 devices, literally just plopping one of those down on the ground, connecting it with the computer, and then downloading the software that we offer, downloading that to the computer and activating it, and basically you can retrofit almost any sim. The nice thing about our technology is that because we are camera based, we fit in the smallest footprint of all of the technologies. We don't need 20 feet in order to see shots. We don't need a lot of width either. So if the player can make a comfortable swing in the space, our technology will work inside of that space. For almost every simulator setup that I've ever seen, it's very easy to retrofit our technology into that simulator and use it very seamlessly.
Yeah, perfect. Thanks, there, Tim. I got another question here. Is there a drop off in technology and experience with the sim in a box, which is obviously the less expensive option, versus getting a custom simulator, which is the more expensive option?
Yes. So from a technology, from a hardware and software perspective, no. Our overhead devices have been engineered to have the same data tolerances and the same data accuracy as our ground-based devices. So when you're looking at how the technology itself works, there's no real difference between a sim in a box offering, a custom sim offering, an overhead machine versus a ground-based machine. Where you do get some differences between sim in a box and custom are going to be the durability of the components that are being used. I would say that the sim in a box offerings are all using components that are designed to last a couple of years. So when you're looking at the durability of the screen or the turf, you're looking at the durability of the projector bulb, some of those components. Um, all of those are designed to last you a couple of years. When you're looking at custom simulators, we might be going with a 2-ply simulator screen that's designed to have much more durability. We might go with a more premium projector. Maybe it'll be a laser projector instead of a traditional bulb projector. Bulb projectors, over time, those bulbs will burn out and they need replacement. Laser projectors don't require any of that. So, depending upon the components that are selected from a custom sim perspective, those components can be of more premium nature, which means that they're going to last a little bit longer. But even all of our kitted solutions with Sim in a Box are designed to be commercially usable, and all of them are top tier components. It's just a matter of how long a lifespan are you going to get out of those kitted components versus some of the more bespoke materials that are designed specifically for your application.
And another question, quick probably last question here. Just the stickers that we always see on golf clubs as teachers, is this coming from the GC quad? You have to use the stickers for the on the club, whether it's like in the indoor or the outdoor experience.
Yes. So to take club measurements, to get that high degree of accuracy and resolution on club capture, the we call them fiducials, the little metallic stickers or reflective stickers, um, are needed on the club face. The location and orientation of those stickers is important. We have two different modes. We have a one dot mode, which is going to give the player angle of attack, path, and club head speed. And then we have a four sticker mode, which is going to give you face angle, lie angle, dynamic loft, and strike location. Important to call out that the GC3 device, which is the personal launch monitor device, operates in one sticker or one dot mode only. So what that means is that the GC3 device does not give you face angle, lie angle, loft, or strike location. When you're working with quad or quad max or falcon or hawk, all of those have a four dot mode, which gives you the full face representation at the moment of impact.
Great. That's thanks for the information there. Well, it looks like there's no more questions coming in, and Tim, it's been an absolute pleasure with hearing you and hearing from the just your presentation and just all the information that Foresight Sports is doing through the game, and obviously with just trying to get our players better at golf, and obviously providing experience for the players that do the indoor facility or whatever it may be. It looks like it screams for everybody than just the tour golfer, and it's great to see kind of the innovation and the technology is just keeps on moving and growing in the positive direction. So, Tim, again, just thank you so much for jumping on this catalyst, and for everyone that was listening in. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to reach out to Tim, reach out to the section if you have any questions around this technology. Um, the director of instruction here in Southern California, I am very passionate about this stuff, and so it's good to see um, our speakers kind of integrating more of this technology and information that is just going to keep to you better our players. So, without further ado, Tim, any last words you have?
Yeah, sure. If you're interested in finding out some more information about our brand, you can find us at foresightsports.com. That's FORESIGHT And if anybody's interested in getting in touch with me directly, my email address is tbriand@foresightsports.com. More than welcome to reach out to the section and they can connect you with me directly via email. But thank you so much for the time and the opportunity. And look forward to seeing some folks in different Southern Cal PGA events that we support over the coming year.
Yeah, thank you for your partnership, Tim, with always for from Foresight, and everyone here. Have a great rest of your day and enjoy the Thursday. We'll see you guys in a couple weeks for the next catalyst. Have a great one.
Thanks,
See
everyone.
you.